Hey, it's Candy. Did you know that I have a quiz to help coaches choose their niche? Yeah, I do. It's super popular and it has been taken more than 20,000 times. This is a fun quiz that takes you about 2 minutes to do, and it will probably give you way more clarity on choosing your best coaching niche. So now, whether you say niche or niche, it's going to work for you. And if you're a coach and you have been stuck in niche indecision, wondering what to do, then you should take my quiz and find out what you learn. You can take the quiz today at coachnichequiz.com. That's coachnichequiz.com. Okay, let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and I'm going to help you find the clarity, confidence, and courage to become the coach that you are meant to be. If you're a new coach, or if you've always wanted to be a life coach, then this is the place for you. We're going to talk all about mindset and strategies and how to, because step by step only works when you have the clarity, courage, and confidence to take action. Let's get started. Hey there, and welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm so glad you're here for this week's episode. I have a special guest this week. Her name is Nancy Giere, and she is a course creation expert. She works with businesses of all sizes, from solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies, turning their expertise into high-profit courses. She creates engaging, fun, and interactive programs that get results. Exactly what we all want, results. Nancy, welcome. I'm so glad you're here today.
I'm very glad to be here today, too.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you got started. Course creation is an interesting area of the industry. How did you get started here?
Yes, and it has become very popular. All the cool kids are doing it now. And my career started about 30 years ago. And my boss had asked me to create a course. And I had no idea. I had never done anything like this before, but I didn't want to disappoint him. So I said, sure. So I built it. And this is back when everything was live. Created this workshop, ran it. And, I think it went okay. But I got really interested in it. Well, fast forward a job or two later, and I landed in this company in Naperville, Illinois, that created, at that time it was called computer-based training. And everything had to be done following a particular methodology. So I was there, I learned about instructional design. I had no idea that there was a whole discipline that people needed to use to build out effective content. And the purpose of it was so that this team of people could all work together because we all were following the same guidelines. And while I was there, I had a quality assurance manager and a direct manager that evaluated everything that I created. And they always said, what can we do to make it better? So now fast forward to where I am now in the clients that I serve, that has stuck with me to look at their work and say, what can we do to make it better?
Yeah. What can we do to make it better? For many reasons, better
Yes.
for the recipients of the training so that they're getting the results, better so that it's more effective, more efficient, getting rid of any of the fluff.
Absolutely.
And also I would assume, better for the confidence of the company or the person who's creating the course. Like when they know, yeah, this is really good, that just really helps them to feel more aligned with selling and promoting and all of those things, right?
Well, certainly more and more people have added courses to their business. And it's really important to produce something of a quality that reflects your brand.
Right.
Because it is an extension of you.
Right. And so we were talking before, I hit record, and I wanted to, sort of make sure that our conversation went in this place of coaches either brand new coaches or coaches who are starting to really get some good traction and they've signed some great clients and now they're starting to feel quite busy. So coaches and course creation. And so, just sort of keeping us within those kinds of guidelines. What are the kinds of things that you think that coaches might consider when they're wondering, should I create a course? What would it do for me? What would it do for my business?
Right. Right. Well, first, the benefit is the gift of time because you can only work, there's only so many hours in the week, there's only so many people that you can serve. So if you bring in a course to the mix, there's two ways that it can really benefit you. One is you look at, well, what is the basic information that you tell every client? What are you saying over and over and over again? And if you can extract that and put it into an online course, you have your client go through, say, look, I want you to go through, do module one, complete the exercise, and then we'll discuss it when we get together. So perhaps you saved yourself 15 minutes, 30 minutes, which then gives you the opportunity to go, okay, I can choose to serve more people and make more money, or I can work less and make the same amount. So it's really a question of how do you want to have it improve your business and really the quality of your own life. So that's one angle. The other angle is oftentimes people will want to engage with a coach, but maybe they can't afford to pay for the one-on-one service or maybe even a group service. Well, then if you put together an online course, you can come up with some key ideas, some key principles that can help people move forward at a lower price point. They may continue with that, they may be fine, or they may go, wow, I really like what this person has to say. I really like the way that they do things. Now I'm ready to make a commitment at a higher level, whether it be joining a group or a one-on-one program. So it really becomes a way to look at your business strategically.
Right. And as you're describing that, it reminds me that so often coaches are really embedded in their business, right? Like these are personal relationships with our clients. We're watching them grow. We're watching them overcome whatever challenge and, then move on to that next chapter. But what you've just described is really interesting. So having a course does the way you've described it, there's a lot of different ways that it could be used. If you're too busy with your one-on-one clients, you could use it to, instead of repeating the same information over and over, giving that client access to that information prior to that week's call so that they're already prepared. And then perhaps your sessions could be a little bit shorter. You could do the same thing in a group environment. You have a group of people, maybe a group of 8 or 10 people, and you're going to give them access to that particular chapter or module, and then have the group coaching, or the standalone version. And so it's interesting because that one course, I guess you could almost create a course that does all three of those things, right? Like, could that actually
could
be
support
that you have one course, but you use it in 3 different ways?
And to me, that's the larger play for people. When we were, we just were, hopefully we're on the other side of the pandemic now, but during that, everybody rushed to create online courses and figured I'm going to become a millionaire overnight, which, if you have a huge list, if you have a Tony Robbins size list, you can sell something for $97 and make a lot of money overnight. But most of us don't have big lists. So to me, the larger play is to look at your content and say, how can I incorporate this into what I do and position it as part of a group or a one-on-one program, which is a higher ticket item. I think it's easier to sell a smaller number of high ticket people than than try to get to the universe. And you can look at your content then really strategically, and perhaps you have a group and everybody's going to go through module 1 through 12 or 12 weeks, and everybody's going to kind of do the same thing each week. Or let's say you're working with somebody one-on-one And whatever the issue is, or the challenge that they present, you can just extract and you can say, I'm going to send you a link to a part of a course that I want you to take. This will really kind of hone in on what we're talking about today. So you can either kind of have it be this very systematic approach that people go through, or you can use it and you can tailor it and you can meet people where they are.
Right. Right. So interesting. And what I start to think about as you're describing this is, first off, making sure that you actually have a path that you know works, and that you are a subject matter expert in that area, so that
Yes.
your path is efficient and effective. And right back to the beginning of our conversation, how can I make this? How can I be continually improving this? Right. So what how do you help people approach that, finding that path that they would create?
Well, the first step is to always look at what's the outcome that you're driving toward. And I call this really a course transformation statement. So by the end of the program, what is someone going to be able to do that they couldn't do before? What are they going to know that they didn't know? Excuse me. How are they going to feel? So you start there with, this is the outcome that I'm moving toward. And then you take a really good look at your audience, your clients, and who are they? And so think of it's not very different from when you're thinking about marketing a product or service. You want to focus on, well, who do I serve? And what are their characteristics? And what do they need? So you start at the big view of kind of the outcome, who you want to serve. And then you look at, what content do I need to create in a course that's going to serve my clients and get them to the outcome that I envision for them. And then you start to break everything, and then from there you break everything down. That's where the heavy lifting comes in. You actually start to build out all of the content and come up with all of the exercises. So it's really, once you define who, then you look at, what am I going to cover? And then from there, okay, how can I cover this in a way that's going to be engaging, that's going to be efficient, it's going to be effective? I was working with someone this morning, and we looked across what she had and thought, what can we do where you will teach less but create an experience? And by creating an experience, whether it's through a guided meditation or breathing type of exercise, whatever that might be, you're going to drop them into something and then come out of that and then debrief.
Right.
There's all kinds of ways. The content, I always think, the content kind of dictates the how.
Interesting. I think the part that is so valuable for the listeners here is that many of them aren't brand new coaches. And so what they're hearing is, maybe two steps down the line in their evolution of their business. The greatest thing is that coaches have this listening skill. And
Mm-hmm.
when we listen deeply to what's going on with our clients, we're really hearing the real challenge, maybe the problem beneath the presenting problem, so that as you're thinking about what kind of a course could you create, you're like, oh, I've heard this with the last 10 people, this same theme over and over and over again. That's something that I could really help my clients with.
Yes.
There's another piece here that I think is really interesting, and I just sort of want to highlight for the listeners. So as a brand new coach, oftentimes I'm suggesting that you start with a pilot program or a beta program, something that is relatively short, 5 or 6 modules, where you want to help kind of guide that initial clients through. You're listening, you're fine tuning, and what you're learning from your clients and essentially your target market now becomes the material that you're going to use for a signature coaching program. But where you come in is, say, we're taking that signature coaching program and making it even better, and then systematizing it and making it a course. So this is really part of like um, the staircase evolution of a coaching practice. Do you find that happens a lot with your clients, that this is the place where they're really wanting to come and, and get your help?
Yes, because it definitely it's a different way of looking at the world, the lens of the course creator. And I can see patterns and process where maybe somebody, and a lot of some of the best coaches that I've known, they're very intuitive people, and they know based on what is, as you said, what is presented, what's the problem under the problem, and maybe there's multiple layers. They can hone in on where somebody is at a point in time and respond to it. Where the challenge comes in is how can I create this in a course from a process angle, where whether the modules each kind of stand alone and cover a particular area, or do they need to be something where somebody's building capability over time? So it's really to kind of step back and say, given your domain, your specialty, your secret sauce, how do we take that and package it in a way that's going to work for clients, and to also look at it from the perspective of what can they realistically do on their own, and where might they need additional support. And that's where it becomes like integrating it into a whole practice. I was in a session one time where I volunteered for a hot seat coaching session. Hot seat, okay?
Yeah.
And it was talking about sales, and I threw out what my challenge was, and she diagnosed the problem, but then we had to move on to the next thing. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now I know what's wrong.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You can't leave me hanging. Now, she was kind enough to send me an email afterwards to give me some guidance based on what she heard. So I thought, well, good on you that you realized that I needed more, but that particular group venue, it was a networking kind of situation. She wasn't able to fully look at it. So the point in making this long story even longer is you have to look at it. You can't open up a wound,
right,
that someone isn't going to be able to address on their own through reflection. So
right.
Just something to be careful about.
Right.
And that's what we look at along the way.
So it sounds like a lot goes into planning that path, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, as you're describing it, it reminds me of loops, right? Like there is nothing worse than an open loop. Our brain just wants to close that loop. And so your description of what happened is like, okay, but now I've got this open loop and my brain must close that loop, like, right? So it's going to be forever looking about how to close the loop.
Yeah.
So for somebody who is, their interest is piqued, how do you help guide them if they're ready to think about creating a course?
Well, I do it in a couple of different ways. I'll do what I call a done with you service. So it's a coaching type of an opportunity. And I'll either work with people in a group or one-on-one. And both instances take about 12 weeks to get from idea to implementation. One of the challenges is that you have to carve out time to be able to do the work along the way. And that's often where people can get stuck. And depending on how much content you already have, that kind of dictates how much are we repurposing and when are you starting with, just, well, I got an idea. But so there's that coaching. I coach people through the process. And there's some people that I do more of a done for you service where they act as a subject matter expert. I pull the information from them and I build the course for them. So done with you, they're building, there's, a lot of co-creation going on. Done for you, I'm doing the heavy lifting, if you will.
Right.
And I run workshops to teach people the methodology from time to time. And I wrote a book called Bundle Your Brilliance, which is another way that people can learn the approach. And everybody's different in terms of, how much support do they need to get to the finish line.
And also, like this is our business. And yes, we want to be strategic, but people have different ways of working too. Like there's got to be people that love the done with you option because now they're in a bit of a cohort and they're creating more community and they're meeting more people, and just being in that group atmosphere, their brain is like coming up with, even better ways of approaching how they do their work. And then some people just want to get it done. It's just like, I've got it all. Just give me the course, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are like, I don't want to be in a group. I just want you to get me to get it done. Let's just get it done.
And it's a different purpose, right? Oh. So any, as we're thinking of wrapping up, any other tips that you have for people who are thinking, hey, maybe this is for me? What would you suggest?
The biggest tip in all of this is, I think you want to be really intentional about what you're doing and really be focused on that client and what they need and how you can get them from where they are to where you want them to be. And I think looking at it more from a hybrid angle where you're offering different types of ways of working with you, but it's packaged.
So back to what you were describing for how how your business is done for you, still creating a course, done with you, creating a course, but in a guided fashion.
Yes.
And also done on your own, doing it on your own. Right.
Right.
So, but it all starts with the end in mind.
It all starts with the end in mind. And I use whatever way I work with people, whether it's a weekend workshop, a group program, one-on-one, it's the same process. It's the same model. And my take is that most coaches have a process or a model, an approach that they're using. And so how can you take that model and deliver it in different ways?
Right. Strategically. That's the thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. Got my wheels turning.
Okay.
All right.
I can see them.
So Nancy, thank you. This has been really interesting. And I hope that what it's done is that the coaches who are listening to this are starting to get their wheels turning too. It's like, wait a minute, maybe I am ready to go down this path. And so the question is, how do they find out more about you? How do they find out where you are? How do they get into your world?
Okay. Well, I gave you a lead magnet that you can give to people that will bring them into my universe. It's eight easy steps to create training that sells. So that will bring people into my world. My website is my name, nancygiere.com. So if you're listening, Giere is Giere. And my email is nancy@nancygiere.com. So that's the best way to find me. I'm also on LinkedIn and would love to connect and continue the conversation with anybody that would like to do that.
Thank you, Nancy. This has been great. And I just love it that my wheels are turning. So I know that the listeners' wheels are turning too. Thanks so much. Thanks again for listening today. Please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Also, I would love to hear from you. Did something that I say resonate? What else would you like to learn about? Click the link in the player and leave a comment on the post. This is going to give me great ideas for future episodes so I can help you best. Join me again next week for more coaching, support, and teaching to help you become the confident coach you are meant to be.